Hi, I'm Steve Hayes, and I'm a pastor, and I'm a sinner. And I love stories. I love to hear people's stories. I love to hear how God has worked in their lives to help change them and make them who they are. And I think we all need to hear those kinds of stories. So I hope you'll enjoy it and listen along with This Is My Story.
I'm John Griggs, and this is my story.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Is My Story. Today we have the pleasure of talking to John Griggs, and John and I have become pretty good friends over the last couple of years. We went on a trip together down to the border and did some mission work down there, and have just gotten to know each other through various different avenues. And John, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
John is the associate principal at Corsicana High School, and I wanted to get somebody in here who is an educator and involved in that process because it's been such a crazy year for all of us. It's been really crazy if you're in education. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But what I want to start off with is you help run and are part owner?
Yeah, it's a family-run operation.
Family-run operation of a buck and bull ranch called 4G.
That's it.
And so first of all, man, I mean, look, is it all that much work to get a bull to buck?
It is.
Is there a science in that?
There really is a science. I mean, there's, it's bred into them to do it. It is what they love to do. It's like seeing a horse run or a dog retrieve ducks. They're bred to do that. We raise the American buck and bull. It's a breed and with its own registry, and we do. My dad rode bulls when he was young and kind of got into raising some bulls, and then got out, and then about the time I was going into college, he kind of jumped back into it, and it's really grown, and it's a job.
So y'all aren't like, when we talk about buck and bulls, we're not talking about like you just walk out there and you got some bulls jumping around, and we're not talking about your local rodeo out in Corsicana or Waxahachie. We're talking y'all have raised some world champions that are in professional rodeo circles. Y'all are one of the elite ranches now.
We've been very fortunate to get to that point. Yeah, it's serious business to us. Yeah. It's not a hobby. It's a serious ball game to us. We all between me, my brother, and my dad, and then of course the wives. I mean, we couldn't do it without them. It takes all of us, but it's serious. Yeah, and we've been lucky enough to have some of them at the very elite top level. It's really been good to our family. It's opened a lot of doors for us. It's made a lot of friendships. It's one of the things I love about the buck and bull business is the camaraderie and how close that business is. We're all competing against each other. Yeah. Like you said, we are competitive buck and bull raisers. Yeah. Like we raise them to compete against other breeders, just like somebody would to try to win the Kentucky Derby. So it's very similar to the horse racing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that have, I think, misconceptions about this whole industry too. They think you're somehow hurting these animals and hitting them with a shocker or something like that, but it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way at all. There's no electronic devices. There's no tying of certain parts of a bull's body. We'll be politically correct on that. It's all myth or I mean it's none of that. I'm telling you, like, that's what made me fall in love with it, is that these animals love what they do. And the ones that are champions, they do it to their best. They give you 100% of everything that they've got in them every single time you ask them to perform. That's
cool.
what made me fall in love with it. I mean, I've always been competitive, always been in competitive sports, and that's what made me fall in love with this business.
So what does it mean when they talk about a bull being rank? That's a rank bull.
That rank is just a term that that bull sets itself apart from the others.
Okay.
A bull is rank means that he's just not necessarily, one can be rank and still be rideable. Like he can still be, but he is just, he's just to that next level. Gotcha. Like he's just like that effort is the intensity, the kick, the spin. I mean, those things are just, he sets himself apart from the rest.
And that's what you're looking for.
That's what we're looking for.
That's cool, man.
That's what we're looking for.
That's pretty neat that you get to do that with your family too.
Yeah, it is a neat deal to the connection that we have with that, and the namesake. Excuse me. The name, like the 4G started out when it was just me, Jake, mom, and dad. And
so 4 Griggs.
4 Griggses, yeah, 4 Griggs. So, we have grown a lot since then, but it's really, that's one of the things we're most proud about is the family connection and that.
Very cool, very cool. So let's shift a little bit to, I always like to talk to people during this time a little bit about their faith too. Yeah. Faith is one of those things. Faith in Christ is one of those things that sometimes the way it works out in a person's life, at least the way it worked out in my life and most people I talk to, is there comes a time in your life where it has to become your own, where it can't be mom and dad's or granny and grandpa's or anybody else's. It's got to be it can't be your preacher, it can't be anybody else. When did faith in Christ become your own?
Yeah, I would say it was when I was sophomore year of college. I was blessed to grow up in a church, grow up in a home that church was made important. I had that base. I had that foundation. Mom loaded us up, took us to church every Sunday. I grew up in Northside Baptist Church. But I was one of my very best friends, and I'm going to make sure he watches this, is Luke Matika. He lives down in Houston now. Started taking me to some Bible studies when I was going to Sam Houston State, but he was at Texas A&M. Okay. And it just really, I felt like started just really feeling that fire inside and really growing, growing through that. And I'm gonna be very honest, like it's dipped and gone and come and back, but like you said, it was no longer just something that I did because it's what we did as a family. Right. Like I made a choice. I could stay home on Tuesday nights instead of go to breakout at Reed Arena. I made a choice to do that, and that's when really feel like it kind of made a corner. In my relationship.
That ministry has impacted a lot of people.
Oh man,
what is it? It's Breakaway.
Breakaway. Sorry.
That has impacted a lot of people over the years, and I think continues.
Yeah, still does.
Well, that's awesome, man, and that's about the time whenever you start really forming your identity and everything else, and so good to know that foundation that was laid for you took root in your life.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So now you're in education. And we've talked a little bit about your history. You got an interesting history. You went off, didn't you go off to New York and do work at a camp one summer and all kinds of stuff. You've been through a lot. I mean, from anywhere from bucking bulls to being a camp counselor in New York and everything else, and now you find yourself in education. What made you decide, I want to educate the next generation?
Yeah, I think, I always had a love for football, and I'm not, that's kind of what guided me in that direction. So I was, a lot of people know that my family owned a car dealership here in town, and when my grandfather passed away when I was a sophomore in high school, then my father decided that it was best for our family to sell that business when I was about a senior in high school. And it was always, I was going to go off and get a business degree and come back and run the family business, and our life just changed. It was It was post 9/11. It was actually right before 9/11, and a family came in and offered my dad a business deal that he couldn't pass up, and we sold our business. And so everything I thought that I was going to do going out of high school changed. So I was kind of searching for what am I going to do. And I decided that I wanted to coach football. Like I wasn't blessed with the size and the height to continue playing in college, but I knew I wanted to coach. And when I got into coaching, I just fell in love with the kids, with the impacting kids. And I went that route for a while, and I did. I chased that coaching trail, and started out here, and I went up to Grapevine and coached in the Metroplex for a couple years. But I knew that I wanted to raise my family in Corsicana. I just knew it. I knew that I wanted to give back to the community that had given so much to me. So I got back to Corsicana, coached a few more years, and was able to transition over into the administration side. Okay. And it's been great. Like I loved coaching. I loved it. And I love the game of football, but I love the impacting kids in the way that we're able to on the administration side.
What do you love the most about it?
I love seeing, and I get to deal with adults as well. So, but I love the growth. I love seeing that you're truly have a chance to change, make change in kids and adults together. So,
what do you think the key component of change in somebody's life
if I'm trying to make change in a kid, is that I think it's trust and relationships. Like those kids have to trust you. Like, and I don't think you can fake that. Like that's not something that you can fabricate or manufacture. I mean, it's a tough kid will pick you apart. Can see right through you because they've seen it all.
Right.
And we have those kids, and just building that trust with those kids and knowing that you're real and what you're saying is real is one of the biggest components in that. So,
you've been in education how long now?
Gosh, my first year of teaching would have been 2007.
Okay.
So
a long time.
14 or 2000.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah. So you're 14 years you're in this, and then you encounter a year like this year.
Yeah.
And you're in administration now, so you're a voice in how things get run.
Right.
You got decisions to make and everything else. And COVID hits. What were you thinking then? What were y'all thinking at the high school when all of this kind of first came down? Was it surreal and kind of like, is this really happening?
That's exactly how it was. Like I remember spring break, like, all right, when we gonna go back? You know, like it's just it was surreal. You didn't know, like we didn't know what was next. And then as it grew or transformed or whatever word we want to use, and we it's become the way of life that we know right now. It is like nothing I've ever experienced before in our life. And I say this, everybody's like, well, how is it in the school? The school's great. Like we're doing what we do. We're taking care of kids. We're doing right by kids. And that drives every decision we make. But ever since I've gotten into coaching and when you're in a successful coaching program, you do what you do because that's what you do good. You know, you don't, if a team runs the wishbone offense well, they're not going to just up 1 year and change what they're doing. You do what you do. And I've been blessed to be around groups of people that believe in that philosophy, from coaches to administrators. Shade Boulware was, huge impact in my life and my philosophy of education. And we've always talked about, we don't try to reinvent the wheel. We're going to do what we do. And we're going and mainly that's that TCC mentality.
Explain that real quick.
TCC is three letters that Shay came up with. Shay Bowler, take care of Corsicana. It is just it's a mindset is what it is. It's a mindset to drive every decision that you make of this decision needs to be focused on an outcome that's going to take care of Corsicana, being that Corsicana are our kids, our staff, because a lot of these kids they come right back into our community. So,
Right.
That TCC mentality is just, it's what we do. And not that we've gotten away from that, but we've had to reinvent the wheel on so many things with COVID inside of school. We're just having to do things that we've never had to do before, and we have obstacles that we've never had before. But I tell you, our staff and our kids have been just unreal.
How's morale?
It's tough.
Like the teachers get down?
They do.
Have you had people just kind of, it's not what I signed up for. It's not what I want to do.
We've had more of those conversations this year than ever.
Yeah.
It's teachers are working harder than they've ever worked before. They have more on their plate with the online learning and the struggles of the emotional side of it, of what kids are going through. It's tough. Yeah, I'll be honest. We've had more of the talking adults off the edge of the cliff than we've ever had to have before.
How much of an issue is technology? Because I know, for me, I can pick that stuff up pretty quickly, and I can adjust because I know some of the basics of technology. But for my wife, she's terrible with technology. Yeah. She doesn't. She barely knows how to operate a mouse. And click it. And I'm sure you've got teachers who are on that spectrum.
We have.
Some who are very good at it, some who aren't. So has that been a struggle?
It has, but it hasn't at the same time. Because, the reason it hasn't is because our staff just goes above and beyond to help the person next to them. We have just had, not that we have anybody bad on the staff, don't take this the wrong way, but we've had people step up that you would never imagine stepping up.
That's cool.
Into a role of teaching other people how to do things, as far as set up their Canvas is the learning platform that we use to push out stuff to kids at home. And just people step up and put on little small sessions of teaching people that do struggle with that. So it truly is a family. It's just really is a family atmosphere up there.
Yeah, and you kind of, in some ways, those times that stretch you, when you adjust, you just know that you have no other way to do this other than, hey, we got to figure this out.
Right.
And you just do.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the comfort level with that can come later.
Yeah.
But you do what you got to do. Kind of like in football, next man up.
Next man up.
Somebody gets injured, hey, go in there.
That's right.
Figure it out.
But I am not. I do not want to sit here and sugarcoat it that it hasn't been hard. I bet it's been hard, and it's been not as much hard on John Griggs, but as I feel for our teachers. I do to see, not that they're scared of work or they feel like they're. I'm sure some of them do feel like they're overworked, but they've answered the call. They really have. That was they really have. It's just a lot. There's a lot more obstacles than we've ever had to.
And they're being asked to do things that they're not familiar with.
That's right.
In a way that they're not familiar with.
Right.
Change is already hard, but when it's forced change, when you have no choice in the matter, that's tough.
And the consistency is a word that I've always used when I talk about discipline, when I talk about management of classrooms, and consistency in the education world right now is that word. You might as well throw that word out. There's no consistency as far as from attendance of kids to being close contacts and not being there for 14 days or it's just so many hurdles that really we have to cross.
I was thinking about it last night. I started watching this show on Apple TV called C.
Okay.
It's got that guy that plays an Aquaman on it.
Oh yeah.
So the premise behind the show is that a virus or something came along at some point and made everyone blind. And so there's a village of people, and I guess there are several villages in the known world at this time, but everybody's blind. And it made me feel like that's where we are in some ways right now. It's like going through this, I know for me as a leader, for you as a leader, we're in different institutions. You're in the schools, I'm in the church, but we're both in administrative roles, and helping to lead through this has felt like you're just blind, like you're just walking around in a dark room, kind of feeling your way through the terrain, and it's clunky, it's clumsy, but you're doing the best you can.
Absolutely.
I mean, is that the way you guys have felt?
Yeah. I mean, it is. You're almost just waiting for what's next, and I always like to think that I'm one step ahead. That we've planned and prepared and practiced for everything. So when it happens, you're not scrambling. You just respond. Yep. You're prepared. Mm-hmm. When you don't know what to prepare for, it throws.
This wasn't in your policy and procedure manual.
They didn't teach this in Education 2301. But no, like we just keep falling back on. Mm-hmm. We're going to do what's right by kids. We're gonna take care of kids. We're going to try to take care of our staff, which you guys have been unbelievable in. That's good, by the way. And thank you. I just cannot tell you how much our staff appreciates what Grace Church has done for us. But let that drive us. Let that drive every single day, because we know that there's going to be kids show up.
Yep.
We know that they're going to have struggles when they show up. Mm-hmm. And we know that we need to take care of them. Yeah. And that's what we focus on doing.
Well, it's awesome, man. We have thought about you guys a lot and prayed for you a lot, and just can't imagine what you're going through every day. But y'all are doing, I think, as good of a job as can be done in light of the circumstances.
I hope so.
What do you think the impact is on the kids?
Man, I just...
What are you seeing? Are you seeing... Because I'm reading about, depression going up, anxiety going up among young people, suicides going up, things like this. What are you seeing there that's different than what you've seen in years past?
I'm afraid, and I do think that the spring break into the summer was really hard on our kids. That not having a closure and rolling into a education model that not was anybody's fault, but that was unsuccessful in the remote learning has really made it tough for a lot of kids, especially kids with struggles or maybe not as much at-home support.
So y'all have determined that the distance learning model has not been effective?
For a large majority of the kids. Okay. Yeah, it hasn't. It has not shown to be successful.
And you're moving away from that?
We are moving away from it on kids that have not been successful.
Okay.
Yeah, if a kid is being successful and they are doing what they need to do, and their grades are staying up and they're staying on track with where they are on their progress, then we're allowing them to continue that path.
Is that across the board? Is that nationwide?
At least the state of Texas. I can only really I can only focus on what TEA pushes out to us. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, from what we're hearing across the board, the disconnect of kids being out of the classroom has been a struggle.
And it's been a struggle for them socially too.
Socially, think? Yeah, I really believe that. Like, we're blessed with two great social emotional counselors on our campus, but those ladies are working harder than they've ever worked. I mean, and there's just so much from the uncertainty to the parents losing jobs. You could draw up anything anything that you want to pull out of a hat that could possibly be going on. It's probably going on within our school walls right now.
Yeah, because it's holistic. it's
Absolutely.
a holistic change. It's not just a, change with school.
Yeah.
There's home doesn't feel
Yep.
the same.
Yep.
You know, entertainment doesn't feel the same
Right.
way. Socialization doesn't feel the same. So I know it's having a
Yeah.
big effect on these kids as well.
And just a lot of just the what's going on in the climate of our country and the world is
Yeah. So
is
tell me
causing
about that.
this these kids undeveloped minds just to go crazy and
So
and they,
while we're speaking right now,
yeah.
there's great unrest in our capital. We're coming off of the most contentious election period cycle that I can ever remember. We had huge racial unrest earlier in the year, all while the pandemic's going on. Did you see glimpses of all of that stress
Absolutely.
in the day to day at school as
Absolutely,
well?
we did. And we've as administrators and as our teachers are having to have conversations that I feel like haven't necessarily had to. We haven't had to have for several years at Corsicana High School. I feel like for the longest, kids come to school, they do school things, and they go home. But it's not necessarily been that case this year. I mean, there's been a lot of. I don't really want to go into all the individual details on some stuff that we've had to handle, but there's been a lot of that of tension, I guess. At points, kind of felt like, okay, when's it going to explode? But I just feel like that we have really, really tried just to keep going back to that base of where it's not what we're about. It's not what inside these walls are about. We're not about what's going on out there right now, even though it's part of us and it's part of the world, and we're about taking care of kids and our battle cry is TCC. Like, you don't have to worry about that when you're in here. That's the great thing about being able to come here is we don't need to fight those battles here. It's not the battleground for that.
Yeah.
And it's but yes, many we've had those struggles, and it's been something else that we've had to deal with this year.
Well, I think probably the biggest factor in keeping things moving forward within those walls is having a unified leadership.
Yeah.
Having faculty, staff, administration who says we're not going to play that game
Right.
with each other.
Right.
And you can feel the way you feel at your home in front of your TV or whatever, but when you come in here, we're one.
Right.
And it seems like y'all have that.
And we do, and we do, and we respect the way that you feel.
Yeah.
It's not about making beliefs or ideology, making it jaded. It's not about that. It's not about hiding it.
Right.
We respect that, and we recognize that, and when we recognize the struggles that kids are having, but that we have been blessed with that. We've been blessed with an administration group that's been together for a long time now, the core, and we've added some pieces, and we've all, people have moved up, and Sean Case has moved right in, and I mean, we've had that, but we've had that core of, like, kind of spoke on in the past, like, we know what we do, and we're confident in how we lead and how we run a school, and all of our administration staff, we all know what each other are doing at all times, essentially.
Right.
Like, I like to think that it's a well-oiled machine. Is it perfect? No, we always need to grow. We always need to continue to get better.
Right.
But we build off of each other, and Kenya Landers builds, her strengths build right off of my weaknesses, and just the opposite, just with the thing with her, and we just trust each other so much.
Yeah.
Same with Brad Thomason and Maria Christian, and typically, I mean, I can just we never second guess decisions that are being made, and it's not that to be able to say that is a big thing, because it's not always that way.
Yes.
It's not always that way.
It's real big, and it's not like in school, it's not like somebody comes in as a principal and they get to handpick their staff.
Right.
You guys are picked up the chain.
Yeah.
And so to have that kind of chemistry and unity in a group that wasn't, didn't really have a hand in selecting each other, that's a major deal, man.
It is. We're blessed, man.
Yeah.
It's just when it comes down to it, it's been we always talk about when the band's gonna break up, and it's gonna happen eventually. But it has been a fun ride with that group of guys and ladies.
Well, that's a big part of why things haven't gotten explosive up there.
I would like to think so.
That's a big part of it. So, what would you say to parents, students who may, for whatever reason, listen to this? What would you say to them right now as it relates to school and the challenges they're facing and what y'all are doing? What would your one kind of word of advice to them be right now?
Yeah, I just want people to trust that every decision we're making is in the mind of their kids, and that we hope that everything that we're doing is putting their kids in the best situation. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things that happen that we can't control, and I want to encourage parents to communicate with us. Mm-hmm. If there's something that they're concerned with, reach out to us. Our doors and phone lines are open all the time. Mm-hmm. We care about kids. That's one thing that. Do we always make the best decisions? Is everything always perfect? Absolutely not. I know there's parents that don't want their kids at school. I get that, and I respect that. Mm-hmm. I've had several conversations with parents that have contested their kids coming back to school because they might not have been successful on the at-home learning. Mm-hmm. And I tell them, I respect you. This pandemic it's real, and I respect you want to keep your kid at home. But just know that everything we do, we care for kids up there. That is what I want everybody to believe.
Yeah, you're not in it for your health.
Oh man,
you're not in it for the lack of stress or anything else. You're in it because you love kids.
Yeah, for sure. It's what keeps us going every day.
That's what I tell my kids. If they ever have a problem with a teacher or anything in a class, I always say, hey, I don't think they got into it for the salary, or I don't think they got into it because because they hate kids. Yeah. I think they got into teaching because they wanted to make a difference in your life.
Right.
They may not always do that in the way that suits you the best, mm-hmm. but you got to believe the best about them and trust their heart, Yeah. And,
that's for sure.
And if something needs to be said, you can trust me to say it.
Yeah, and it's not that we always make the perfect decision.
Sure,
we make decisions that are. We're human. We make decisions that are wrong. But
you're not perfect.
No, no, not at all.
This has really been revealing today.
Thanks, Steve.
I had some wrong impressions.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
No, it's just I want parents to know that anybody hears this, that if there's ever anything from the smallest to the biggest concern, to come to the school.
Yeah.
We love face-to-face conversations. And everybody knows it about me. If somebody sends me something of a complaint on social mm-hmm. media, I'm the first person to reach out to that parent. How can I help you? I see this is your concern. How can I help you? What can we do to fix this? And because it's the world we live in, and it's okay. I'm not dogging people for going to social media. It's just
I'll do that for you.
It's just the world we live in. But I want everybody to know that we are not afraid of conversations, especially, and we want to help however we can.
And folks, have a conversation. Don't go on social media. Let me just say that is the least effective way to get things done. Well, man, I appreciate all of that. I think that's huge, and I think what you're doing, what you've been called to, is man, we need more people like you in education, people who care about kids and care about others and care about the community and see the connection, that it's not just about a book or an assignment or whatever. It's about a community, and that's huge, and that really is true. Education is about our community.
Absolutely is.
Man, there's a whole bunch of things we could probably talk about, but we've covered the bases pretty good. Let me bring it back to your faith. One last thing. We talked about when your faith became your own. How's your faith helped you get through this year?
It's been big. It has been big. And I tell you, this church community has been big.
Good.
It's been big for Corsicana High School. It's been big for myself. And just knowing that this isn't it. This isn't the end of the road. And if it is, we'll know where I stand. But to know that this is not, that there is a bigger picture, and that we will prevail and get through this has been it's been big time.
I was talking to somebody about that recently. There's the idea that you could take a picture. You could go to the Grand Canyon and you could take a picture, and most of the Grand Canyon would run off of the frame, right? It would extend beyond the frame of that picture. So if you really wanted to capture the Grand Canyon in a picture, you'd have to take about 1,000 pictures.
Right.
And you have to tape them all on the wall to where they all came together and they were all part of that big picture. And some of those pictures would be of rocks and dark caves. And some of those pictures would be of the horizon and the sun and the beauty. And so all of it, though, comes together to form the big picture.
Right.
And I think about that when I think of the verse in Romans where it talks about all things come together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purposes. Like the story isn't over yet.
Exactly right.
The picture runs off the frame, and it might be an ugly picture right now, but the whole picture is going to come together and make something beautiful. Right. And that's my hope for all of this, for Absolutely. The pandemic, for the election cycle, for everything else. I just think that's what God is in the business of doing, is making beautiful pictures out of our lives.
You couldn't have explained it any better of what I was trying to say. It's exactly right. It's just trying not to get caught up in just this exact moment. That just keep doing what's right, living your life right, and trying to make impact to make things better.
Appreciate what you're doing, brother.
Appreciate
you as a friend, man.
Same to you, man.
And
same to you.
Don't
love our conversation.
Don't let all this get you rank.
I might need to be a little more rank.
We don't need a rank old bull up there at the high school.
No, we don't. No, we don't. So
love you, man. Appreciate you.
I love you too, buddy. Appreciate you.
All right.
If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe. And if you'd like to spread the word, please consider leaving a 5-star review and tell your friends to subscribe too. Our video podcast is available on our Grace Community Church YouTube channel. This Is My Story is produced and engineered by Jake Moore and is a ministry of Grace Community Church in Corsicana, Texas. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily express the views of Grace Community Church. Thanks for listening.